It's crazy that we're at five already. Time flies by, but super excited. We had an amazing week. More fun than it was business, I think, but we have some cool business stuff happening, some collaborative deals that we're working on with other professionals, and we'll talk in more detail about that. But just as a reminder, Portfolio Talks, the premise of this show is to bring the conversations to you through your screen, because far too often people can't get in the circles of learning about money because their friends and family and colleagues don't talk about money. It's very taboo. They're embarrassed about it. They don't talk about it. We're talking about it, and we can answer any of your questions. So if you have questions, feel free to send it on whatever platform you're watching, whether it be YouTube or Instagram. Send us the questions, we'll answer it, and we'll kind of go from there. So first thing I guess we'll talk about is before we talk about the fun stuff. YouTube's been popping, man. Out of all the socials, YouTube's been skyrocketing our views, and I saw a
Yep.
lot of it happened over the last like 2 weeks. I think we got thousands of views over the last 2 weeks on a video that was probably 3 weeks ago. So social's just random. Like I don't understand
It's super
the
random.
rhyme
You
and
don't know
reason.
which one's gonna hit. Um,
Yeah.
and I think for us, the cool part about it is documenting, because we're still relatively early in the process. And so
Mhm.
documenting like the learning and where we're at, and how things are going, and where's our thinking at, and then be able to look at it in 2, 3, 4 years time and be like, man, I can't believe that we were, number one, we were that amateur. Number
Yeah.
number two is like we were, we're doing this, we're doing that. And I think that's the benefit for us, is to be able to look back at it and be like, man, look at how much better we got at doing this kind of stuff,
Mhm.
without talking in a clickbait format.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing is we're not influencers at all. We're practice owners. We're business owners. We're practice owners. Like we're busy as hell. So this works out really well where it's once a week that we get to catch up because Tyson and myself we talk probably I don't even know man like 3 times a day probably.
Yeah,
But it's nice to have a sit down conversation of debrief how the week's going and you guys get to be a part of that as well. But yeah, we're not influencers. We're very busy business owners. So uh, you'll see the trajectory, how this gets better because we don't have the time to make 1,000 videos and sit there and edit and do all that stuff. It's like organic. Let's shoot it. Let's snip it up real quick and then pop it out there. And then
yeah,
we'll just get better at it as we do more of it because that's the only time that we have. So it kind of is what it is. So for the early people that are here, I appreciate you, Tyson, appreciates you, Mike, everyone else that's going to be on here appreciates you because we know that there's a lot better edited content out there, but we're real. And I think that speaks volumes because people are resonating with that for sure. So,
absolutely.
speaking of real, how was the week, man?
Week was good. Um, I don't usually get thrown off by the long weekends, but this week just threw me off with the Labor Day weekend we just had, and then trying to cram everything into Tuesday because we had an event on Wednesday, and then like it's Friday today, and I can't believe it's Friday. We don't normally do this on Friday, so the whole week's
Yeah.
been jumbled up, and I feel like I have 3 days worth of work still to do, and like, well, I guess I'm working on the weekend.
Yeah, I honestly, this whole week felt so weird to me. Even today, one of my cousins messaged me. He has a softball league that he plays in, and he's
Yeah.
short guys. He's like, hey, we need someone at 9 o'clock. Can you play? I was like, yeah, I'll probably be free. In my head, I thought it was Monday. I don't know why. And I was like, yeah, I'll probably be free. Got nothing going on. And I realized it's one of my best friend's birthdays. I was like, oh, never mind, man. I didn't know it was Friday. So like, I'm gone. I'm not available at all. But it was the weirdest thing. Like, why do I feel like it's Monday today? That was the weirdest thing. But I think to your point, long weekends for us usually don't mean anything. If you're a business owner, you probably know the same thing. Like I enjoy working on long weekends because it's so
Hmm.
quiet. A lot of my clients can answer the phone, so they're not at work either. The kids aren't at school, so everyone's at home. So it's easy for me to get a hold of people. So if there's things I've been, dragging off for a while, I can get that stuff kind of buttoned up. And it's a really good admin day for me. I can fire off a ton of emails, get a bunch of stuff done in the back end without being bombarded by phone calls the other way. So I
Yeah.
really, really enjoy long weekends. But the thing that threw me off was our charity event that we did on Wednesday. That totally threw my day off because that was like a full day thing that we were gone. So I would love to talk about that as well. But Tyson, I'll pass off to you first. How was the event? How did you enjoy yourself? I heard you shot like a -6 or something like that. So let's
As a
talk about it.
group, yeah, as a group, I think we shot 69, so we shot -3. And we were playing best ball and stuff. And if I kept my own score, I wouldn't have been that good. But I had
Yeah.
a great time. Awesome course, beautiful. Um, Out there. For me, it was like out there. It was a trek. Um, but yeah, I never played there before. So we played at Sandpiper out in Harrison Mills, and just an awesome course. I was really surprised that we didn't have more involvement with like animals and nature and stuff. There's like not a lot of birds. There's no
Mhm.
deer. I didn't see any bear. We didn't see any of that stuff. I don't know, maybe because it was like super hot that day, but I was expecting a little more of that, and
Mhm.
we just got to enjoy the trees.
Yeah, this is weird actually. Now you mention it, there's a lot of wildlife there. Like last time I was golfing in Sun Peaks, I remember we teed off on the fourth and hit a great shot. My first shot was awesome. Landed the fairway right in the middle. Pulled out like I think it was like an 8 iron. Knocked my 8 iron right into the green. I was like, all right, perfect. I'm gonna get this birdie and then I'll be good to go. Come around the corner, there's a bear sitting right in the green. I was like, I'm good. I'll just give myself a par. And we just kept on
Yeah,
moving. And I was wondering, like, I don't think this golf cart's that fast, so this bear can probably catch me if it really wanted to. So
absolutely.
lucky that we didn't get caught with any wildlife because they would have had a lot of options to eat. But we don't need to be the fastest ones. We just need to outrun somebody in our groups, and we had like four foursomes. So we
Yeah.
just had to leave somebody behind, and then we would have been fine anyways. But it was a great event. I've honestly never played in a tournament like that before. I golf often, but it's more just individual, and
Yeah.
you're in competition against yourself, which is very much like business. I always feel that we don't really have competition, which is odd, even from the portfolio planning side. Anytime we hire like a new marketing person or editor or someone to do our website, I think that's the most recent one when Ange was doing our website. She's like, "Who's your competition?" I was like, "No one really. Like, we
That's
don't
right.
really have competition." What we do is very unique. It resonates really well. The way that we do our business, I think, is tremendous. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think the results speak for itself. So I don't really think we have competition. So it's really us versus us, which is similar to golf, which I enjoy. But this tournament was interesting. So if anyone hasn't done it, it's kind of the best ball. I don't know what they call it. Texas Scramble, I think was the official name. But basically, myself and Tyson tee off, and Tyson shots better than mine on the first one. I'll bring my ball up to his, and then we hit again. If my shot's better, then he brings his ball up to mine, and we keep doing that until we sink it. So that's why you can get really low scores. I think our group was in a -6, but one of my friends, Greg, he pretty much carried the team. There were so many times that three of us did a horrible shot, and then Greg was the last one. We looked at him, we're like, "Sorry, bro, you've been here before. We need you to bail us out." And he just did a perfect shot. So shout out, Greg, if you're watching this. You're clutch, brother. I appreciate you carrying the team. Your shoulders are pretty sore. You probably did the LeBron thing today. My shoulders are sore from carrying the team.
Yeah.
But it was for a great cause as well. So we were there for the Fraser Valley Healthcare Foundation, which is a tremendous cause. We've spoken about this before, and Tyson, maybe we'll pass off to you to talk about how people can turn taxes into donations a little bit. Um, but really, I think there's a big misconception out there that people think that the federal government or the provincial government is going to fund the hospitals. They do it in part, but only thing they really fund is the necessities. So the bandages, the gauze, the staff, things like that, that are the necessities, the bare minimums to keep the facilities going. That's what, for example, Fraser Health or federal government will actually do. When it comes to upgrading equipment, when it comes to putting facilities into a better spot, like getting murals in the NICU department, getting a staff room. Like you may not believe it, some of the hospitals out there and the clinics out there, they don't have staff rooms. So the nurses that are working 12-hour shifts and the doctors that are doing 72-hour shifts, they don't have a staff room, which is crazy. So when it comes to putting mini fridges in there and getting a staff room, getting the chairs, getting the tables, that's all stuff that's donor funded. And that's what we do on the Fraser Valley Healthcare Foundation. I'm on the board for that as well. So the big vision of what we're doing is trying to raise funds to actually get the facilities up to par. Some of it, for example, Abbotsford Hospital was all built brand new, so all your equipment was put in at the same time, so it's all expiring roughly around the same time as well.
Yeah.
So we don't want to be in a situation where the healthcare facilities are falling apart because everything's expiring at the same time. We want to be proactive and starting to pick and choose what equipment's there, and making sure we're responsible as well. So before we sign off a check, like the CT scanner that we got put into the Mission Hospital, before we sign off on that check, it's, what's the staffing plan for this? How can it be run? How many hours can be run? Is it an efficient purchase? And if it is, perfect. We can kind of go ahead and do that. So That's what the Fraser Valley Healthcare Foundation is doing. That's what we were there to help support on Wednesday at that golf tournament. I think they call it Golfing for Your Hospital, which is a clever name. But it was a blast. And I think the portfolio planning team, we had like four different groups that came. So we showed up in full force with all of our referral partners and people we do business with. So that was great. We came in like a massive mob all together, and it was a great time. And we had some content that was getting shot. So I'm excited for you guys to see that stuff as well when it comes out, probably the next couple of weeks here, and you'll see a ton of it because we love supporting great causes and we love showing it as well. So the question that comes in a lot is donations. I know people donate petty cash often, but a lot of those larger donations they come from people turning taxes to donations instead. So Tyson, you're better versed than I am in this field. Like, what does that mean, turning taxes to donations in a nutshell?
Yeah, I think most people, when they think about donating to charity, they are defaulting to using cash, check, and credit card because we've been kind of raised that way. A lot of times you'll get asked to donate like at the checkout. It's just like, now we're asked to tip everywhere too, right? So they're asked, hey, do you want to do $1 to this? Do you want to do something to that? And there are some strategic ways where we can actually plan for that giving and have more impact and have more impact for the end result that you're looking for, as well as being able to budget it in your life. And so on my podcast, I met with Dan Kite from GiveWise.ca, and they run like one of the coolest online donor advised fund platforms. And so during our conversation, he was just talking about being efficient and utilizing your dollars for like to have a rhythm in your giving year over year. And he came from a business background. So he was like, hey, listen, in the business that he was in, he understood that some years it's boom and some years it's bust. And you don't like make as much money, even though you're working, you might not make as much money, but you want to smooth out your giving. And so using a donor advised fund is one way to kind of smooth that giving out so you can give consistently and over different periods of time. And there's probably, 20 or 25 different like micro strategies that you can apply that people don't know. And so, one of the things that we talked about is using matured securities. So especially now that we have increased capital gain inclusion rates in Canada. If you're going to have a large capital event, so you're going to sell the family cabin or you're going to sell some rental real estate or something, and you're going to have a large like tax bill to pay, you can proactively um, donate part of that to your donor advised fund. Same thing as if you had, I think I started saying you had a lot of securities. So you have a big stock portfolio and you want to take some of that money out, you can allocate some of that stock directly to your donor advised fund. It moves over tax free. The charity doesn't pay tax when they redeem it, so they don't pay capital gains. So you've avoided capital gains and you've created a large, like, charitable tax receipt for yourself. Now you can take some money out of your stock program tax free, and we would strategically figure out the balances to figure how, what allocation, what amounts are we going to use. And so, it's kind of called like the double whammy play. It's like, hey, we can give some to you, we can have impact, and we can take some out, and we're avoiding tax, and maybe we're able to better use your dollars. And so, one of the things that where that really works well is if you work for a large company and you have a SOP program or a stock share ownership program where you get to buy stocks as part of your bonus. You work there, you have a long career, and then you're wondering, how do I get this money out tax free? Because you're going to pay like 50% tax on this, basically. This is one of those plays where we can utilize strategic philanthropy to create some impact, have some donations created on the back end, and then you get to take some tax-free money out. And a lot of the times you can end up with more cash in hand that's, unmolested by tax. And then you can also have some impact through charities or through something that you feel is worth giving to. And I think that's a really cool part once we have accumulated wealth is now what do we get to do with it? It's not all just about us. You've had success, you've had you've tasted success and the good stuff in your life, and now you get to participate in significance.
Really well said. And I had an accountant explain this to me kind of briefly, I think a year ago. And he's like, the thing he likes about the donor advised funds is it's similar to kind of like a CDA account, the capital dividend account, where it's the more you do, you open up a little bit more tax-free room. So is it fair to say that when you are doing like a donor advised fund or donating securities or stocks to a charity, they start to build up a little bit more room that you can then use to pull out your own money tax-free? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, essentially that from the tax perspective, yeah, the more you give, the more you build up in terms of like donation tax credit, and then you're allowed to, maneuver some other things. Maybe you want to liquidate some real estate or some stock that you have, or you want to move some money around to other places. I don't know if you have like a family trust or something like that, and you might be able to utilize some of the benefits of that. The additional benefit, another layer to that is if you're a business owner and your whole retirement plan is to save money inside your corp, and you have stock portfolio in your holdco, like say for example, a lot of the ones that we deal with, they save in their holdco. And then when you want to take that money out, there's not a lot of great strategies to do that. Well, you can take some of that appreciated stock or appreciated securities, donate that to donor advised fund. Now, you're not paying capital gains on that part. The charity's not paying capital gains, and you're getting a CDA credit. So it's like a
Mm.
triple whammy. And so there's a lot of really cool things that you can do in utilizing, the philanthropy side. And if you're donating while you're earning, you get to see your impact, which is really cool. You're not just leaving like a bequest in your will, which is great. We want to encourage more and more people to do that. Um, when we pass away, if say like I have two kids, I pass away, I leave everything to my two kids. But when the estate settles, it's almost like having three kids because CRA is going to get their part. And so if I plan properly, then the kids can get more tax free. They can get, like access to the capital. And, we give less to the government, which means that, maybe in our family, we want to give more to the church or we want to leave a scholarship fund at the school. We could set all of those types of things up and we have more say in what happens versus, if we just let CRA take their large piece of the estate, then we have no control over what they do with it, how they waste the money. We there might be no impact in our community, and we want to see more of that.
Love it. Double whammies, triple whammies, whatever kind of whammies you want, you can get it here
Yeah.
at Portfolio Planning, right? So it's a cool little triple whammy that we did as well for somebody. I think this was about a year ago. We had a client who had a large pension plan. It was gifted stocks pretty much through their employer. So when they ended up leaving their employer, it was going to be a huge tax bill because if you're watching this, you may or may not have gone through this before, but you're going to be allowed to roll over a certain amount of that into your RSP. So when you leave your employer, you're going to have this big pension plan. You can roll over a certain amount that's not going to trigger tax, and that can go into your RSP, and the rest of it you're going to have to take as taxable income. So it's going to add to your taxable income. So you're going to have a large tax bill. What we're able to do instead is this person was already a charitable giver, but they were doing one-offs. So we're able to use donor advised funds to give more so they got to keep more. So when they left their pension plan, a lot of that went to their RSP. The rest of it would have triggered tax, but we were able to do charitable giving and open up a little bit more room. And then we were able to keep more and we took that money, put it into their TFSA, and now that's going to be growing tax free in the
Yeah.
future. So there's a lot of maneuvering you can do. The problem is, even though we give you these answers like we're doing right now, you're probably not going to remember. You're probably not going to know how to implement it. So that's what we're here for, to help you do that kind of stuff. So a lot of cool things you can do with charities, and you can give back to charities that are close to you, things that interest you, and you can also give back to yourself and your family because instead of paying the government, you pay yourself and your family more. And Tyson, I love what you just said. People out there may think they only have two kids, but they actually have three kids because the CRA is your kid that's sitting in the corner waiting for his turn to get some of that money from the estate as well. So
That's right. Yeah.
Mike's here. Let's bring Mike in real quick. Wow, what a shirt!
Tropical. Mahalo.
Trying to stand out in this crowd.
Yeah.
Oh man, way to make a statement, brother. It's actually good that Mike joined in. I think Tyson and I were going a little bit too far down the finance rabbit hole there. We get so interested about topics like this. So we're talking about
Yeah.
donor advised funds, charities, We had a couple situations where we were able to save clients a ton of money on taxes because they had pension plans that they left their employers, so they were able to move some into the RSP. The rest was going to trigger tax, but then we were able to donate it, open up more room that was going to be tax free, and then move that money to the TFSA instead. And then Tyson has countless examples of doing that for the estate as well. So why pay the government when you can pay yourself? Pretty much is the theme of the story.
Absolutely. It's amazing what good advice can do. Like people just have no idea how many different ideas and ways there are out there. And if other people are doing it, why aren't you? And why, why just trundle along doing the same old thing, paying the government a fortune when it can make such a difference to you and your family down the road? And proper planning. I mean, you guys know about this kind of stuff, but you can also take out life insurance in the name of the charity and sometimes have your corporation pay for that or whatever. But there's lots of, you guys are the experts, not me, but I think it's fascinating. It's a fascinating world to get into because you just don't, you want to help and it's great to be part of charity, but it's just sometimes can be such a big mistake to just give charity at work or that person that knocks on your door. I mean, you've got to have a structure to it. You got to have a plan, just like everything else. If you have a good plan, it's amazing what you can do.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had a client that did that actually. They purchased the appropriate tax efficient life insurance. They donated it to their local children's hospital. They got to stand in front of the hospital with the big check and say, like they donated $1 million and they get their tax receipt every year that they pay their premium. And then he got invited to all of the donor dinners and all of that stuff. And so for him, it totally replaced his marketing expense. And now he's connected with, like the people he wants to be connected to. He's a real estate developer, and and the hospital benefits huge from that. And so it
And
was
he
like a
gets to
win
enjoy
win
it
win.
while he's alive, right? That's
That's
the
right.
part
That's
too.
right.
Yeah, that's
So with that
amazing.
marketing budget, he gets like free lunches and stuff like that now. He gets to get wine and dined, and it's also just it's good to give back. And his kids, see, him in that light where it's like, oh, it's amazing that he's kind of giving back, and they learn about philanthropic giving and all that kind of stuff. So it's a huge ripple effect where before he's spending that money to sponsor random events here and there that didn't give him any ROI,
Yeah,
sponsoring other people's conferences and whatever to get like maybe one introduction,
Yeah.
which doesn't really make much sense. But now spending the same amount of money, he gets way more and gets to give back to a charity and less to the government. So it's a what is that? Quadruple whammy? Do we just
yeah,
go up
Yeah,
to
pretty
quadruple
much.
whammy,
Yeah.
Tyson? Wow. We start with a
and
single
and
whammy, then move to
everybody
double.
wins. Like you're benefiting your community. You're being that person you'd like to be, and like I said, you don't have to wait till you die. I mean, it's something that's there now, and you can plan around and work with.
That's right.
As long
Absolutely.
as you have an insurable need and as long as you're healthy enough to get insurance. That's the caveat. So I always say, what we did with a couple of clients of ours, I always tell them, I was like, this is kind of like a strategy for the 1% of the 1%, because 1% of people have the structure in place with like a good accountant who has incorporated them early enough. They have the insurance need. They matched up the registered accounts, all that kind of stuff. That's 1%. And then 1% of those people are healthy enough to get insurance. We've had countless people that are like, I love this strategy. I want to get this done, but they're not healthy enough to get insurance. And if they
Yeah.
are, sometimes they get a higher rating, which means that your premium is going to be more, or your payments are going to be more expensive than a standard 45-year-old, just because you're a little bit less healthy. So that's a problem that we run into a little bit. But yeah, if you're the 1% of the
Yeah,
1%
I mean,
and
it's
you
not
have a
going to fit
marketing need,
everybody, right? I mean, it's
yeah,
it's like
There,
everything in life. There's going
there's
to
a
be
small
things.
twist that you can add to the end of that whole like train of thought is sometimes we work with business owners that they had life insurance for like their line of credit for their business, or they had a for their expansion loan, and they're not in that growth phase anymore. Now they're in that mature business phase. They don't need the insurance anymore. You can donate that matured life insurance policy that you were gonna cancel, and then you turn a cancellation, all those lost premiums, into a huge corporate donation tax credit. And
yeah,
how often do you get large like corporate tax credits? Not very often,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And then you can
especially now.
actually pull money through your CDA out of your account. So rather than just canceling it, is you get a donation tax credit, you get a CDA credit, and you get, all the publicity and the marketing from it.
Yeah.
This is why Tyson's the man. Honestly, I feel inadequate right now. Tyson's the man with all these great ideas. Mike's got this beautiful shirt, and I'm just here, man. I'm just here. That's actually really well said because I think that's the biggest reservation I get all the time. I have a client right now who is thinking about canceling their old policy because it was exactly that. She was a, I can never say the word esthetician, whatever,
Esthetician.
whatever. Yeah,
I
there you
trust
go,
you.
Mike. Thanks, man. So she had that. So it was a machine that you need to get to do that. So she had like a line of credit for $150,000 inside the corporation, but no longer needs it. So she's thinking about canceling it. She's like, oh, it kind of sucks that, 7 years of payments gone down the drain for nothing. It was just a term policy. But yeah, that might be an option where we can look to convert it and then donate it. And then that way open up more CDA room, which for those of you who don't know, the CDA room is just kind of like a nominal number that's with the CRA. So the bigger the CDA room is, that means you can pull assets or cash from your corporation to yourself personally without triggering tax on it. And then you can use it on the personal side. So you could put it into a TFSA and double whammy your growth. You can use it to buy an investment property, run the numbers by a mortgage broker like Mike, turn that into passive income. There's a bunch of different things that you can do with it, all from just donating a policy that you're going to cancel anyway. So, like Tyson said perfectly, why let the last 5 to 7 years of payments go to waste? If you have a cash flow that can sustain it, just convert it and turn that to a donation instead.
Yep.
And you know what's when you think about it, it's it's easy to look back and think, oh, if I had done this or that or all these things. I mean, getting yourself in your 20s or your 30s to think way farther ahead is tricky, and it's hard because you're in your day-to-day life and you just don't think about that kind of stuff. But if you can possibly start to look at long-term planning, it's incredible what you can end up doing. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah,
And
I know.
yeah, I mean,
Sorry.
Tyson, you deal with it all the time, but I mean, it's even little steps early on can make such a big impact down the road. And I mean, I always remember just the simplest thing was like an 18-year-old starting an RSP because they worked, right? And even if it's $1,000, $1,000 with 60 years can turn into a lot of money compared to when you're 45 or 50 trying to jam some money in there before it's too late.
That's right. That's absolutely it. I've had countless conversations with people. They're like, okay, I'm 55. I'm 10 years from retirement. What do I do now? And it's
Yeah.
like, hey, we got a lot of work to do, right? That's an
Yeah.
uphill battle.
Yeah.
And
Then oil offshore is like a lot of leveraging. You got to do a lot of leveraged investing, reverse HELOCs, or sorry, reverse mortgages, or investing from equity in your home like this. It's a bunch. A lot of them don't have that risk appetite to do that. So I think that's a conversation we want to have more in depth, is like reverse mortgages. I know we kind of alluded to it on our last episode and talked briefly about it. But it's funny, actually, after we said that, we started seeing so much stuff in our social media, paid ads about reverse mortgages. Like there was like that credit card. What was that, Tyson? The reverse mortgage credit card?
Bloom.
yeah, we saw something come up for a new credit card in Canada that's attached to equity in your home. I don't know if it's in BC yet,
Yeah, it's in
but
BC.
is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's new. I haven't heard of that, but it was an interesting program, and I'll have to look into some of the details. But or maybe and you can
Yeah,
fill
what are
us
your
in
thoughts?
on
Yeah,
how that
it's Bloom
works.
Financial. They're a new reverse mortgage company in Canada, and they're trying to expand. And it's smart. I mean, it's the idea of having a Mastercard that gets loaded every month from your reverse mortgage, and you can spend the money how you wish, and then you don't ever pay it off. It keeps getting reloaded. So what they're doing is spinning. Um, I mean, reverse mortgages in general have that option. You can take a lump sum or you can take a monthly income. And the idea is that you only pay interest on it when you take that extra income. So instead of taking lump sum, you're paying interest on everything. Now you're taking $3,000 to $4,000 a month, and you accumulate, but it's over time. So it's a way for people who don't have big pensions or incomes as they get older. They have a house with a lot of equity, but it's a way to kind of allow them to take some funds out, but not all at once. And
Yeah,
it for the right person, just like anything. I mean, the right person, if it's the right plan, it can make a lot of impact on their life. I mean, somebody can go from barely being able to afford to live to enjoying themselves, especially when you're healthy. I mean, it's the difference between 50, 60, 70 isn't really the age, it's the health. And if you can still go out and travel, then travel or do the experiences you enjoy. And I just think that's a bigger discussion point. But so many people came from the old days where you just paid off your mortgage no matter what. You sucked it up, and that's all you ever think about, and you never tap into your house. And then your kids, they might get the value, but they didn't have a life experience with you either because you couldn't
that's
afford
right.
to do anything. So I think there's a balance there that we need to kind of help people see more. I'm not saying it's for everybody. It isn't. Obviously, if you've got lots stored away and you've had plans with you guys ahead of time, you're probably not going to have to do that. But there are people through life experience or problems or issues that didn't get to where they wanted to be. But it doesn't mean we can't have some life experience and that's positive. So I always look at it as it's an education, because it's kind of got a bad name, but the reverse part, because honestly, in Britain and the US, when they first came out, they were horrible products. But we've never had those products in Canada. We never will. And the ones in the US and Britain are gone. They're different now too. So, you're never going to lose your house because of a reverse mortgage. You're never going to have to be forced to move. In fact, it does the opposite. It allows people to stay as long as they want. So
that's very interesting.
Yeah,
I think you see it in the conversations that we've fielded in this is really 3 different situations that end up in a spot where someone needs to talk about a reverse mortgage, or at least, entertain that fact, is divorce, health, and job elimination. Those are really the 3 kind of main situations that I've seen that will lead to a situation where someone's like, all right, I need to figure out something to do with equity in my home. If you got divorced, that's tough because all your assets are kind of split. And, that it sounds weird, but there's never a great time to get divorced, but there really is a horrible time to get divorced. And that's when you're nearing retirement, because you don't really have time to recover from your asset loss there. So that's a tough situation. And then, health, if you don't have insurance and you get ill prolonged, whether it be like a disability or an illness or something like that, that takes you up for a while, and you lose those contributions, you don't have a proper emergency fund. So now you got to not only stop contributing, but withdraw money from your investment portfolio to make ends meet. That's a tough one. And then if your job gets eliminated, especially prior to retirement, that's really tough. We'll mostly see that with injuries, like workplace injuries is the more time I've seen that, where someone gets hurt at work when they're in their late 50s or early 60s, and where they're planning on working another 5 years, or maybe even deferring CBP and OAS to 70, and they were planning on working, but now they can't because they got injured. And WCB doesn't work for you. Like, a lot of people think like, oh, WCB is there for me. They're not. No. They're there to do the bare minimum and then try and force you back to work into a situation that doesn't make sense. Like, oh, we found a similar job for you, but 3 cities over. And if you deny it, like, well, you're just resigned then. And that's basically it. So those kind of situations it is. The cool thing, if you, again, have someone that can help you plan it, reverse mortgages, it's not earned income. So, you can still withdraw GIS, which is a guaranteed income supplement, old age security. There's benefits and stuff like that can help you, so you can collect from a multitude of revenue. It's not just I gotta live fully off the equity of my home. You still have CPP, you still have old age security, you may have GIS. It all depends what kind of product you get for reverse mortgages. So there's a bunch of stuff out there, but it really just depends what kind of product you get. Are you getting advice from someone that's helping you and in your corner, or just trying to get a quick commission sale and boom, I'm out on to the next one. So there's always 1,000 different ways to do the same thing, but those are just some things to look out for.
Yeah, that actually brings up a great question, Mike. When these guys say somebody is approved, they're the right candidate, it suits them, they want to do the reverse mortgage, how is that taxed for them? Is that considered income, or because it's lending, it's not considered income?
It's not considered income. It's tax free.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically, it's like when you sell your house, it's not taxed either. So I guess that's why it's kind of considered that way, because it's like your own equity. So I doubt they thought of it that way. But anyways, the net effect is no tax. So to your point also, Shaw, I mean, WCB is like it's an industrial era thing. Like, it's built for somebody in a factory that gets injured. I mean, to me, that's kind of how they're really geared. I mean, so many people now, us included, would never get WCB probably, because as long as you move 2 fingers and you can think, that's all they're going to say is that, no, you can keep doing what you're doing, even if you can't walk or whatever. And so sadly, I think that's why there's such a need for some kind of disability coverage or something. I've seen too many clients that, they were relying on a WCB thing, and they end up fighting for 10 years and end up with a legal bill as opposed to any kind of money.
That's right.
So it's sad. So I think there is sort of, you triggered me, because I've seen people sitting in those situations where they think they're the good guys and they turn into the bad guys. It's it's sad. But in terms of the reverse mortgages, I think there's what I see a lot of is, the couple worked hard, maybe the husband full-time and the wife part-time maybe or something, but they didn't do a ton of planning, but most of it was in the husband's planning. And then the husband dies or is gone. And usually the spouse is left with trying to pick up the pieces. And yeah, the house is paid off, but like the pension was his and now they don't get as much, or, there's all these sad impacts that happen, and it all falls apart. So, they're in $1 million house and they're almost eating dog food because there's just so little income, and they don't think there's any other solution, because when they walk in their bank branch, they're like, well, no, you can't borrow any money. We can't give you anything. You're
That's right.
old person, retired. We can't do that. So I'm not trying to generalize too much, but it's just sad. And yeah, I mean, those are the kind of situations where, wow, if we could change that and set up a reverse that makes sense for that person. No, it's not free, but it's also, I just go back to that, like, enjoy yourself while you can, while you've got the health. I mean, literally, none of us know when it's our last, walk or run or whatever. And to get out on a vacation with your family and your grandkids or whatever, can you imagine the impact that could have on somebody's life compared to
Totally.
sitting in their house and not being able to drive their car over to see them anymore?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
kind of sad. So
Great point.
yeah,
And also, like, a lot of people don't realize is if you have like life insurance, there is some kind of, depending again on the product that you have and how's it structured. But if you have a terminal illness, you can get early payout from your life
Right.
insurance as well. So you can do that kind of stuff. So, if you're someone who's been diagnosed with the terminal cancer, you can get that last family trip and do something that's been on your bucket list forever, and take your kids, your grandkids with you, and have that moment and that memory for everyone there together. And it's all just the benefit of getting stuff in place early. So even if you're not sure if you need insurance, if you're not sure what type of insurance you need, just reach out and just ask. Like, yeah, I don't even know what I need, but like, here's kind of the situation about if you get it in early, you get a really great price, because the biggest thing that makes insurance expensive is your age. So you get it early, you have something, and then you can convert it to whatever product makes more sense as your life changes. But at least you lock in your insurability, so you're not in a situation that you're not healthy enough to get insurance anymore, and now you need it. Not even want it, but now you need it, and your family needs it, but you can't get it. So it's not a situation you want to be in. It was. This ended up being a dark conversation. We just talked about a lot of morbid stuff, right? But it's a reality. It's a huge reality, an unfortunate reality for a lot of Canadians out there. And as we go into so much election rhetoric that's been happening in Canada, so it's weird. It's not our election coming up, but all the verbiage around it makes it seem like our elections right around the corner, same with the states. But there's so much political rhetoric coming up with NDP being like, oh, we're losing faith, but we're not saying we're losing faith in the Liberal government, and Canadians are struggling and all this kind of stuff, but they're not doing anything about it. It's just going to get more expensive, just going to get tougher. So it's the only thing you can really do is put a plan in place that works for you and your family, and everyone's solutions are going to be different. So just be wary of the content you consume online, which is ironic because we're creating this content online. But we're properly regulated financial planners and brokers and professionals in the space, not just an influencer who's trying to sell you on some kind of pyramid scheme or program or a course. Yeah,
right? Interview them and get, like, talk to a couple if you have to get the right feel that fits you.
Yeah.
And one thing I was going to add to your piece is that if you're 20 or 30 and you're starting to think this way, kudos to you, because you're ahead of the game. Nobody else is going to look after you. You have to look after yourself. The other part I'm going to mention there is, don't just look after yourself. Talk to your parents. Like, they may not have any kind of plan, or they might have a plan, but it might be not right for the whole family anymore, because who knows who planned it. So I think there's a lot of discussions that nobody wants to talk about life and death and these kinds of things, but it's going to happen to us all. And the family that chats about it and discusses it, I mean, everybody's situation is different, but I just, when I picture a 29 or 32-year-old talking to their dad who's getting closer to retirement and finding out they don't have any life insurance, or they don't have a plan for retirement, or who knows, I mean, you're going to be picking up some of the pieces possibly. So why not have that discussion either one-on-one or as a group, whatever's comfortable. But like, don't be afraid to talk about those things, because better to talk about it now than when everything has hit the fan. And it will happen. I mean, you guys have had lots of experience. I've had lots of experience. it can be truly sad when things happen, and they're going to happen. So, yeah.
I find most individuals, they plan for the best case scenario. They don't plan for like what happens when the wheels fall off, which is more likely to happen.
Yeah.
Like when we make plans, that's when God laughs. Like, isn't that the saying? Um, and so our whatever we plan and whatever we want to have happen, it never actually works that way. There's almost an immediate detour, a roadblock, something that we didn't see, and most people don't want to, acknowledge that and then do something about it. But to your point, Mike, is if more families would talk about money openly, number one is you have the opportunity to create intergenerational wealth because you're giving less money to tax. You can plan for stuff better. In one of my few hundred books that I have here, there's a philosophy. It's called what does he say? Own nothing and control everything. And so if you own nothing at death, but you're controlling all the money and all the pieces in the family wealth program, there's no tax bill. And so the family's kind of like pre-distributed some of that inheritance. You control it. It's put in place so that it flows from generation to generation. You keep more of it in your family. And it's a very different concept. It's not always very Western. I think it comes more from like that Asian influence where
Yeah.
they plan for multiple generations. And here the planning and the level of thought used to be like, hey, you're 18. You're on your own. Like, see ya. Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
It's, go ahead, Michelle.
No, I was gonna say Tyson and I gotta jump off shortly here, so we'll wrap it up. But I want to wrap it up on a fun note. So, myself and Tyson, we talked about the event, our golf event that we just had on Wednesday. So, want to know your thoughts on it. Like, how was the golf event? How'd you shoot? What'd you love about it? Just, we talked from the portfolio side, but you being one of our main business partners, how was it from your perspective? And you made a whole drive down for it too.
Oh, it was fun. I mean, it was a beautiful place, but B, it was so much fun to hang out with you guys, and it's all a charitable cause. We got to meet different sponsors and people that are involved in that community. I mean, how can it be anything but a great day? I mean, it's nice to be part of a social group that's trying to do better and help the community as a whole, and not just out there for themselves. And I think this whole discussion has been a little bit kind of maybe not super happy, but it's one that is needed. And I think that is one of those things. You look at what they're trying to do. They're trying to make medical and health better in their area. And let's face it, with technology, we're never going to have the perfect hospital because everything has to be upgraded and changed and added to. So, part of your planning, is if you're going to have your family planning, can be like we talked about, leaving a legacy and helping the locals and leaving a mark that you left it better than when you came in. So, we had a great time, great day, beautiful weather. I mean, just fantastic. Thank you for inviting me. It was a blast.
Thanks for coming. And the best part was we were working on a deal with Mike as well. So one of our clients is buying a new home. And right when Mike pulled up, we were sitting having lunch, and we're like, all right, cool, it's approved. We looked up like, sweet, that was easy. So it's always a breeze working with you, but it was perfect because I saw it, looked outside, saw like the water, the lake, the mountains. I'm like, what a great day, man! This is amazing.
That's so true.
Majestic. I think for next week, there's the next couple of weeks of interesting things happening on the portfolio planning side. Those of you who are optometrists in BC, you can look forward to the Eye Digest magazine that's going to be dropping, I think next week. I'm pretty sure it comes out. You'll see our article on the front page as well about children in optometry and how to kind of plan your practice for that. So that's coming out.
Look for it.
2020. Keep your eyes. It's good. What's better, one or two? So you can look forward to that dropping on the BC Doctors of Optometry magazine, and then as well on the 18th, I think we have the event with UBC Med that will be happening as well. So if you're a year one med student, you'll see us at the event as well. We're running and hosting the social hour that's going to be there. So looking forward to meeting all of you UBC med students to show you the benefits of practicing in the Fraser Valley and picking a learning hospital for your residency and all the things that you get with community and the support you get in the Eastern Fraser Valley. So super excited. Those are a couple things that we have going on. And then for UBC Dentistry, I think Tyson, we're speaking in the next couple of weeks as well. We're starting to run that off as well. So if you're UBC Med or UBC Dentistry, you'll see us a lot around there. And I shout out to Just Cakes because last time I went there, I had one of them cake jars and it was pretty fire. So I'm sure you guys probably eat it a lot when you're studying there, but yeah, it's exciting. So as September kind of gets going, everyone's back in school. It's an exciting time because there's so much happening. So very, very blessed and humbled to be a part of all these things and have all these opportunities to give back and give value, but excited to roll everything out and get the end of the year started off with a bang.
Fantastic. Have a great day, guys.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, Mike.
Cheers, guys. Mike, give me a matching shirt. We'll show up next time together.
Yeah. Okay.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.